Hello, welcome back to Kafsat Technologies. This is session 11 of Complete Library Management System using Java Swing and MySQL database. In today's video, we are going to fetch all the student records from MySQL database. So, before watching this session, I strongly recommend you to watch our previous session because in our previous session, we saved student information with image in MySQL database. That is so good. Let's get started. So, for that, we want to define a simple method. And here we want to define a method, for example, private void get all records. That is good. Hereafter you want to read database connection. For that you want to use try catch with resources. You want to define a try block. Let's define a catch block. SQL exception. We will write SQL exception code later. And here first you want to read database connection. Simple. Connection con equal JDBC connection dot get database connection. So thereafter you want to write a simple query to get all records from student table. For that you want to write a query in MySQL workbench. Let's first execute that query to get all the records. As you can see, we have many records. So here you want to write a join query to get records from faculty table and student table. For that, you want to use select, for example, student ID, student name, father name, gender, faculty name, and TBL student dot description from TBL student. You want to join faculty table. You want to use inner join TBL faculty You want to define a condition on TBL student dot faculty ID equal TBL faculty dot faculty ID. So let's arrange the records by ID. For that you want to use order by student ID ascending. Let's execute that query to see the result. As you can see, we got records. Thereafter you want to copy the same query and we want to define a variable here. For example, string query equal, you want to paste that query. So our query is ready. Hereafter you want to define prepare statement. Prepare statement is equal con dot prepare statement, and you want to pass query variable. So in the next step you want to execute that query. Simple ps dot execute query. As you know that the execute query method can be used to execute the select query. Whenever you want to execute select query, we have to use execute query method. So thereafter you want to define an array to represent table header. For that you want to take a simple string array. For example, column names equal, you want to assign column names. Simple, we have ID, then we have student name and father name, and we have gender, and we have faculty name, and then we have description. And we want to define column name for action also. Simple action. In the action column, you want to display buttons like delete, edit, details, and so on. So let's create instance from default table model. Simple. Default table model. For example, model equal new default table model, and here you can specify column name, we have an array, we want to pass that, and then count, we want to pass 0. So hereafter we want to process result set one by one. Here the execute query method return result set. We want to assign this query into result set variable. Simple. Result set, for example, rs equal ps.execute query. Let's process that result set. For that we want to use while loop. Simple. While rs.next. And here we want to define variables to get data from each column. Simple. For example, first we have id equal rs.getString, and we have student id, then string, for example, student name equal rs.getString student name. Thereafter we have father name. Simple. String father name equal rs.getString father name. So we assigned each column data into variables. Thereafter you want to create another array to store rows one by one. For example, object data equal, and here you want to assign variables. We have id, and we have student name, father name, gender, faculty, and description. And for the action, we want to specify a null value. That is because the action buttons come from a table. And here you want to specify null. Thereafter, you want to assign the data into table model. For that, we want to use model.addRow, and we want to add this data. So finally, you want to assign this model into table. Here we have a table. The table has name, table display data. You want to copy that name, and here you want to assign simple table display data dot set model, and we want to pass that model. So let's write simple exception message here. For that we want to use system.out.println, for example, database error. That is good. Thereafter you want to call this method in constructor. You want to copy that method, and here we have manage students constructor. You want to call this method here. You want to write a simple comment also. For example, load all students from the student table. So let's save the changes, and we will run the application. As you can see, we got all the records from student table. So the edit and delete buttons are built into the custom table. If you are using the default Java Swing table, you have to add these buttons manually. So let's add another record. For example, Ali, John, male, and we want to select educational. Let's save that. The record has been added successfully. That is good. As you can see, the record is saved into the database, but there is no new record. For that, we want to call getAllRecords method on the save button. Okay, let's call that on the save button. You want to find save button, and here we have save button. Sorry. We will call getAllRecords method here also, getAllRecords. Let's run our application once again. As you can see, here we have 9 records. Let's add a new record. For example, Smith, and we have John. Records has been added successfully. As you can see, we got a new record, Smith John.